Take a swig.
It's almost that time.
Yeah, man, the Swig podcast,
Yeah,
man.
we gotta tune in.
Hey, man, let me grab this beer right quick, man.
Yeah, let me get my drink ready.
Yeah, man, oh, shoot, man, they be talking about all types of on it, man. The lagers, the man.
There's some beers I ain't never even heard of on there.
We about to learn about them, though, shoot.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
What's up, world? It's your boy, the Bearded Brother, back at it again with another exciting episode of the Swig podcast. And of course, by my side, I got my co-host,
Shani Hadia, the marvelous gift in the crazy Gnome building.
Yes, it is. We have a fantastic episode coming up. We're actually, for the first time, filming in an actual brewery called Crazy Gnome. The new guys on the block here.
Yeah. The youngins
Yes.
in the city.
But they're coming here to put their place in Nashville and make their name known. They are two brothers. They came and created this thing. But enough about us talking about them. We'll let them introduce themselves. So we'll just go first with...
Hey guys, Grayson Miller, one of the owners here at Crazy Gnome. Happy to be on the Swig.
Yeah, and Bennett Miller, Grayson's brother, also happy to be here.
Okay. So we are happy to have you all here too, right? Y'all open a brewery.
Yep.
East Nashville.
Oh yeah.
East Nasty, as you know, the locals like to call it.
Absolutely.
So what like, why the location? Why a brewery? Give us a little background on how you got here.
Sure. Well, okay. I'll try and answer those in order. Why East Nashville? I've been living here for 5-6 years now.
Okay.
And when I first started looking for locations, honestly, I didn't think I'd be able to afford the neighborhood, but it was definitely the dream to be in East Nashville. I love this part of town. I was fortunate enough to, 7-8 years ago, get some housing here for an internship that I was on. Fell in love with the neighborhood.
Okay.
It was a little sketchier back then, I'll admit, but I liked it all the same. It had character.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not sketchy people, it's
very
character.
And, one way or the other, I found myself getting introduced to the folks that own the Main Street Liquor here, and they had a spot opening up, and it was an old transmission shop. Had, great concrete structures, solid flooring. It had the perfect bones.
You were about to say the base for a brewery.
Exactly.
Okay, so you said that you moved here 5-6 years ago?
Yeah, that's right.
Where from?
Knoxville.
Knoxville.
Not too far away.
Okay, so Knoxville might be upset that you didn't open there.
That's true. Their beer scene since I've left has exploded a little bit.
Yeah, I've heard good things. I have not made it to Knoxville, but I've heard good things.
I think when I left, there was just the one, and now there's, I think, over a dozen. So, yeah, great for them. I like the city, but I like Nashville's energy.
Okay. So we are looking at 2 of the starting brews.
That's right.
We didn't want to pour up and have warm beer by the time we got to them.
Right.
So
trying to pace ourselves.
Which 2 do we have poured up now?
Right now, we have gone ahead and poured you guys the Calamity Kolsch and the Copperdoodle ESB.
Okay. So go with the Calamity Kolsch on the first go here. Bennett, you didn't pour yourself up one, man. You slipping.
Oh no, we're 3 out of 4.
Okay, so we have tried a couple of these already because we had the private tasting here. So I already knew that I'm a fan of really all of your beers.
I like to hear that.
definitely a fan. And so the Calamity Kolsch, like, typically I'm not a Kolsch person.
Okay, why not?
It doesn't pack enough punch for me.
That's fair.
But what I'm also realizing is I can't be punching like heavyweight the whole damn time,
Exactly.
And so I have to introduce myself to some lower ABVs.
That's right.
And so this would be a good way to go, because if I, in the sun.
Yes, this is perfect.
That's
why I love a good Kolsch for that reason. You can just sit back by the pool or at a cookout and drink it and not get too high or too drunk too quickly. You can pace yourself on that and still kind of get a good, well done craft beer.
Yeah.
For me, the Kolsch kind of, how people can put back a whole bunch of Bud Lights or Budweisers by the pool, and this is a Kolsch is like a craft beer version of that for me. It's easier to put back.
And that's exactly what we're going with this one. So, it's inevitable, right? You open a spot in a crowded foot traffic area, you're going to get a lot of people wandering in just to have a drink, and maybe they're not that familiar with craft beer. Maybe mostly they drink as Bud or any other macro, and that's what they're going to ask about. What do they have? What do we have that's most similar to that? And so that's what we're going for with this one is just your elevated macro, right? You get a taste of what craft can be, but you don't have to completely leave your comfort zone.
Right. You get to walk that fine line. I like this though. So, Calamity Kolsch. Tell us about the name, because I feel like y'all about to hear a story. Right now.
So buckle in.
Oh boy. Well, let's take it back to March of 2020. No one was worried about COVID yet. It was just something happening in other countries.
March feels like a decade ago.
It's so funny. It really does. We had on March 1st, we had just received the last of our regulatory papers that allowed us to manufacture alcohol. You got to jump through a lot of hoops to get to that point. And that was Friday. Saturday, we cleaned the brew house, make it all spotless because it had been gathering dust as we chopped through some red tape. Sunday, we brew this Kolsch. I figure, start with a basic recipe that I knew well and get things started, nice and simple, before trying anything too crazy to dial in the equipment. And work ourselves to death. We're trying to, document our procedures as we're improving processes. It's a long day, is what I'm trying to say, for Sunday. Tuesday at 12:30 a.m. So that's just 30 minutes into the day. So we're talking 36 hours later, the building is destroyed by a tornado.
Whew. So let me tell you, I think we've kind of talked about this on an older episode, but that day I just happened to wake up at 1:30 in the morning. I'm going to the restroom, and you roll over, you scroll on Facebook, you pick your phone up, and they're mark yourself safe.
Yeah.
I'm like, the hell?
Facebook knows something I don't know yet.
Right.
And so I'm sitting there, and the wind is howling, and I can hear things going outside. I'm like, okay, it's a interesting storm, but what's going on? And then I see the tornado had hit, and it just went right through. Through Nashville. It was cut right through the city.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll let Bennett share his side of the story. We had two different experiences with the storm, for sure. My side of the story is it's 3 a.m. and I am woken up by someone entering my house. That's a scary thing to happen.
Yeah.
It was my girlfriend, though, so it's okay.
Yeah.
But I had...
Are you a gun toter?
She almost got jumped.
I don't want to, it's a topic for another podcast, but let's just say I'm not used to being woken up in the middle of the night by people entering my house, but I had not been answering my phone, and I also live in East, so...
She was going through it.
She thought I might have been dead, so...
Yeah.
She had actually already spoken to my brother, and she lives pretty close to some of the sirens, was woken up, and she comes into my bedroom and tells me two things. She says, okay, number one, Bennett is okay, And number 2, the brewery was just hit by a tornado.
At least she started with the important piece first.
That's right. That's right. And I guess before we get into kind of what went on from there, Bennett, what was that evening like for you?
It was, well, it started with, I was awake. I was up late working on, I was making plans for a deck for out front of the brewery. So right. I was trying to develop plans, figure out what we needed for that. And I started the loudest noise that I'd ever heard outside of my apartment. So I sheltered, took my dog down to our basement, and but I live like a 2-minute walk from here. So
okay.
So as soon as the noise died down, my neighbors and I kind of like went outside, checked out our apartments, and the row of them right next to me, they got destroyed. Their roofs got taken off.
Yeah,
mine was fine. So then I started worrying about the brewery. So I started making my way in a slight panic jog over here, and the outside didn't look as bad as I was worrying.
Mm-hmm.
The outside, all of the trees had fallen down and the window was broken, but overall, I mean, the building was mostly still there. There was a bunch of debris everywhere. But then I moved some stuff around, some trees out of the way, got inside, and realized that all of the interior walls were broken. And so that's when I called Grayson. A couple different ways. Phone, on his
WhatsApp, iPhone.
I'm a heavy sleeper. I'm not answering any of this. I wake up to home invaders and that's it.
But yeah, it was wild. That was basically I hung around here trying to salvage as much as we could.
Yeah.
Because at that point, rainwater was starting to become the biggest pressing problem because all of our electronics, our POS, the brew house was clearly unsalvageable.
Right. And you can't lift equipment. Big strong guy there did
it, but I actually, crazy enough, I slept through that storm. The only way I found out, I was like, I woke up like kind of in the middle of the night and like I knew it was raining. I was like, oh damn, that's crazy. It's raining. Rolled over, went straight back to sleep. I woke up at like 5 in the morning to go to the gym, and I noticed my lamp wasn't coming on. So I tried the lamp. I never turn on. I'm like, because I thought the light bulb was out. Sure. I tried this other lamp. I was like, this one doesn't come on either. What is going on? I looked at my stereo, no activity on it at all.
Yeah.
Checked my phone. My friend's like, bro, what the fuck? There's this tornado in Nashville, like right now. Text me right now.
Yeah.
Hey, you're okay. That was like 3 in the morning.
Oh yeah.
He texted me. I was like, my friend, not even in the city. He's an hour outside of Atlanta, texting me about the storm in the city I'm in. And I'm like, I really gotta become a lighter sleeper.
No, I don't know. Right. If you're gonna take me out, let me sleep through it. If there's something that's gonna happen, like, let me just sleep through it. Now I am done with my coach. I can't believe that Kramer was not.
I'm right there now, so
okay.
Don't judge for too much.
It's crispy. It's smooth.
So we are moving on to the Copper Doodle.
That's right.
ESB.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, ESB is
an extra special bitter.
Okay. Now
or
tell
an
us.
English strong bitter. Depends. Both are fine.
Okay. So. Okay, I smell. Is that malt?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
So when we're drinking this one, we should be thinking about sitting back in a British pub, right? Because that's where the bitter styles came out of.
Okay.
They're just British pub ales. You had a kind of a series of a bitter, a strong bitter, and an extra special bitter, and this is the latter. Each one they got a little stronger, a little more bitter, a little darker. All of them are very mild, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So it's a bit of a misnomer. You're drinking a strong bitter, and you're like, well,
it's like
where's
smooth.
the hops?
Yeah, it's smooth, but with a kick. and that's that bitter kick that is coming through. But overall, it's easy on the palate.
Yep,
like
it should be.
Nice little bit of butteriness to it. Makes it way more drinkable than already could have been.
Yep,
without that.
Yep, it's and that's drinkability. Should be a word that you use to describe a good ESB.
Okay.
It's, some people might say boring. I find it to be comforting.
What's the ABV? What's the ABV on this one?
This one's real close to 5%. It might just be a hair under.
Okay.
The style allows for 4 to 7.
Okay.
So they can be a little stronger, but plenty of them are in the 4s. I think Fuller's ESB is one of your style definition beers for this one, and it's in the 4s.
Is there one that it's someone that's out now in Green Man or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I think they do have one, but I also never really see that style made by American breweries, really.
Yeah, that's true. It's not very popular, but I like it.
No, it's a good style for sure. But I wish more breweries here did do ESB, because sometimes I want something a little bitter, but I don't want anything too high ABV.
Yeah,
exactly. I just want to drink or just be able to relax, maybe after
after a soccer game.
Yes, sure. I'm
sorry. So after football,
yes.
You gotta.
For a good game of football.
No, okay, yeah. So I like this. And again, I'm typically not of the multi variety, going for those beers, but I can see myself sitting, and it really does give you that pub feel. Yeah. There's a sofa in the corner, little sofa corner in their brewery, and I can see myself sitting over there with one of these, just having a conversation. Yeah. Maybe even with a British accent. I don't know. Cheerio.
We would encourage that. Yeah.
Cheerio.
Start saying in it all the time and
oh man, go Cockney with it.
This is good, isn't it?
So Bennett gave he got to the brewery.
That's right.
Okay, and saw what, existed at that time. What was the
We'll switch over. I guess we'll switch over perspectives back to my timeline.
Yeah,
and then we'll switch back forward.
This seems like a really good TV show, like that
narrative.
Very Marvel universe, just multiple timelines going at the same time, but completely different events.
We had very different days overall. They started to get very similar because when starting the next day. But my first thought was, oh shit, I hope I mailed that insurance check.
That's the first thing you look for, that confirmation number, anything.
Honestly, that's the first thing I did. And so, that's
even if you knew you did it, you would have been like, did it get there?
Yeah.
Am I did I do it?
Well, that's
so important.
It's crazy because a couple days ago I had received the bill in the mail, and it wasn't due for another 20 days. And so, and I went and obsessively paid it that minute. So at 1 a.m. I think I early paid my insurance payments. I'm like, you guys aren't getting out of this.
Yeah.
Either you guys aren't. If you do get out of this, I don't get to have a brewery anymore. So
that would have been hell.
That was oh man, that was concern number 1. Concern number 2. My phone is already starting to blow up. Like you were just saying. That you were getting texts from people out of state. I was getting texts from people that I hadn't heard from in ages. It was odd to get these text messages. I guess it made me feel comforted that people, that I had lost touch with still sort of...
They care.
Yeah, they still sort of care, right? So I just came up with a copy-paste text that I sent everyone who sent me. Is the only way I could keep up.
Mark myself safe.
Yeah.
People were like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine.
I'm
just mark myself safe.
Exactly. That's a great feature.
Yeah.
Great feature.
Facebook, that's one feature I actually enjoy on that. Social media at times.
At this point, it's about 3 a.m. I collect myself, and I realize the next thing to do is, I call my contractor. See, here's the thing. We had 2 building permits going on. It's a long story. We had gotten our use and occupancy for one, but not for another. That ended up being very important because we still had an active building permit. So everyone else is scrambling to get building permits to do their renovations. I didn't have to do that. I already had an active building permit. So that's right there. Is why we are open right now, and everyone else around us is still doing construction.
I was wondering that because I expected a little quicker bounce back for some places over here.
It's hard. The permitting process is very difficult, and the pipes were clogged because everyone, and then COVID hit, and that just slowed things down even more. But we were ahead of that. I called my contractor at 3 a.m. He's already awake for some crazy reason. I'm not saying he stayed up late. I'm saying he's the type of guy who gets up at 3 a.m. I don't understand.
Early bird catches the worm, man.
That's right. And he says, I'm already awake. I'm already watching the news. And I'm like, well, we got to go to work. And he's like, all right. And he ordered us some dumpsters. And we got some of the only dumpsters available during that time, because that was another quick shortage there for a couple of weeks since we were, and he was putting in that order at 3 a.m. a couple hours afterwards because he knew how to do that. I don't know how to order.
You would have. I would have been sitting there like, where's the yellow pages? Dumpster. Need.
Exactly.
No, not insurance.
And that's how it was. It was just hit the ground running. Without getting into too many details, this building is the second lease that I've signed to try and put my brewery somewhere. The first lease, the landlord broke contract, decided that it wasn't worth it to put in all the effort to bring in a brewery onto his property. It was a big waste of my time, and I'm not happy about it, but it happened, and it's a learning experience. Chop it up to that. And I was a little worried about that. That was my biggest concern. My landlord had every right to just... A lot of people were evaluating, do I rebuild or do I sell? That was a big decision. And luckily,
with everything turning over, that definitely was a question. A good question.
And luckily, my landlord immediately made the decision to rebuild. And that was it. I would say, of course, being woken up, being told that my brother's okay. That was, all right, fine. Insurance paid. Contractor at least contacted, and he starts taking care of organizing some things. That was the only question that I was left with that evening that I wouldn't get to find out until the next day was, if the landlord says he's going to sell the property, then I might as well look for a new location, right? Because they're probably going to do something completely different with the space.
Right. There'll be a skyscraper or something.
Exactly. Something that makes more money than what my place is doing.
So your landlord must be a craft beer fan. That's why.
Well, he owns a liquor store, so I think he's just, I think it's a very synergistic relationship.
So we have emptied the...
Oh, that's right. We need to fill you guys back up and move on to the next two.
Yes. I love to know the story behind Copperdoodle. Like, that's just not something you bring up. Just out of the blue. You're like, you know what? That looks like a Copperdoodle. Name it.
All right. So I'm thinking, this took a little bit of brainstorming. Immediately looking at the beer, it's copper in color, right? So I do think names of beers should be, if they're not totally off the wall, which I very much support, I think off the wall is fine. It should be semi-descriptive of what you're about to enjoy. So copper, it describing the color of the beer sets your expectations a little bit. And then doodle is like an old-timey British slang for it's kind of a goofball, kind of like I don't know. It's sort of an insult.
Is it like, what is it, Yankee Doodle Dandy,
exactly.
right? Like he was
I think it's someone kind of slow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Yankee Doodle Dandy was not very kind to us, but hey, I think it's kind of funny. Like, it's just kind of a funny word.
Hey, I'm here for it.
So we went with some old school UK slang.
And copper-doodle. It's like copper-doodle-doo. Like
exactly.
You know, and cocker-doodle-doo.
Yeah, cocker-doodle-doo.
I don't know if you meant to do that, but I just kind of
and then there's a dog that like there's a lot of doodles out there that are dogs, and I like dogs, so yeah, it all kind of circle around. Once we hit it, it made sense to me.
That's all that really matters. Like it fits. The copper part fits. And then you have a reason for doodle, and like that's all that really matters. Like all these other names that people name their beers, it's like what? It will fall into a what anyway. You want to use?
So up next we have the, and this one makes more sense to see it written out, but the Je ne sais quoi and the Dunkelgeist.
Oh yeah, I remember that Je ne sais quoi.
Oh yeah, it's a good one.
I'm excited about the Dunkel.
Oh, me too.
That's one of my favorite styles.
I've got stories for both of those names.
So go ahead and take us through them. Let's go. We're going to start with the Je ne sais quoi.
Sure. So my girlfriend's name is Jenna, which means by law of relationships, she gets a beer named after her.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Yep. And I think we were just kind of goofing around with some friends, and I don't know if it was, someone said something adjacent to Je ne sais quoi, and then it just popped in my head. I'm like, that's amazing. And if you spelled it, it's spelled Jenna, Jenna, space SAY, space KWA. It makes no sense. And people see it and they're like, what are you talking about? And they say it out loud, and the moment of clarification in their head is golden. I could watch it all day, every day.
Yeah, we definitely had that moment. I walked up on it, I think, as people were saying it, and I was like, the what? And they said the Je ne sais quoi, and I was like, I looked up, I was like,
it's that.
It's the name of a beer. It's not a phrase like a lot of people use, but I don't think a lot of people know the meaning of.
Yeah,
but cool.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it just means like, well, I'm sure
there's
it's also like in French.
Yeah, like I can't quite describe it. It's a certain je ne sais quoi.
Everybody knows the feeling of je ne sais quoi, but you're like, what's the definition?
Somebody says, what does it mean? You're like,
I don't know.
I think that's just the action. That's what the definition is. You see that, you're like, you see someone like this. Someone that makes sense.
It's like umami. What does that even mean?
Oh man, I've been trying to figure that out. I did tasting strips, and they were like, tell me what you know, if you get sweet, sour, umami, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell umami tastes like.
Wait a minute.
So umami is like a savory taste, and then when they say it, it's they'll say like soy sauce or
that's
you know
salt,
like fish. Right? I'm like, that's not salty. Like
so you couldn't go with salty.
Like I think, I mean, like I'm sure that somebody's gonna listen to this and be like, "No, I can really tell you what exactly it means."
Well, please message us on.
Educate us. We're always here to learn.
So, Je ne sais quoi is a Belgian saison.
That's right.
And I like the finish on this. Like it gives you. It's very floral.
Yep.
On the nose, like I like that.
Nope. Yeah. So I love the German beer purity law, Reinheitsgebot. That's saying that there should only be 4 ingredients in your beer: malted grain, hops, water, and yeast. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that all of our beers are going to follow that. In fact, there are beers on the list that we're going to try today that do not. And what's interesting is in Germany, if you don't have those 4 things, if you have more than those 4 things in your beer, you can't call it beer.
Yeah,
it's not beer anymore.
Yeah.
So but you can achieve all these interesting flavors by picking your yeast selectively. So that for this one right here, all those spices, that coriander, that pepper on the back end is all from the yeast. Yeah, so it's a Saison yeast. It's very interesting. And it is a Belgian style yeast, but it's very specific to this flavor profile.
Okay. Yeah, I like the peppery finish.
Yeah, I like it. I do generally like certain saisons, but I'm pretty particular about like who makes it and what is going into a saison. Because sometimes people say saison, and you're like, this isn't. This is just like
this definitely is Belgian saison for me. Like I'm getting the definite saison flavors but the like that mouthfeel, that thickness of that Belgian,
I'm like, oh, that's true. Because I think people say saison because it's just like it's a fun word to say.
Well, true, and it's tricky because it's also the name of the yeast. So you could really do anything you want and add saison yeast and call it a saison.
Okay.
Kinda.
Yeah, right.
If we're going by like who, I think it's DuPont that is the original, hundreds of years old, still making beer brewery out of Belgium that defines the style. I mean, crack open a bottle of theirs and a bottle of mine, and theirs will win. I mean, it's amazing.
I have to try. I have to try theirs. I've seen it, but I haven't picked it up.
Yeah, it's out of this world. It's so good. But that's definitely what we're going for with this particular one. That said, now that I made that one, you can reuse yeast a whole bunch of times. And I'm going to take it weird. I'm going to have a couple of interesting beers coming up. I'm trying my hand at a dark imperial saison that is just interesting. It's the only word right now that I can use to describe it. That's coming up, and we might actually.
Sounds good. Wait, you dropped your voice. You're octave on that. I'm excited.
Definitely my ears perked up, and nothing else.
It finished at 8.1. We're going to keg a couple of kegs at that level, leave it be, but we're also going to put the rest of it into a Wild Turkey bourbon barrel. Ooh. And I'm going to see how it does being aged in a barrel. I think it'll be great.
Yes, I'm all for barrel aged.
Oh yeah.
Barrel aged anything, I'm paying attention to.
I'm ready for barrel aged season.
Me too. That'll probably be December when we release the barrel aged version of it. But a couple of weeks, we'll be rolling out the vanilla version, I suppose you could call it. But it's still going to be pretty complex on its own.
No, so it's going to be good to try the base version,
right?
And then see when the barrel age come out and see where it goes.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
So we have y'all going through all of the tornado stuff.
Yeah.
And then COVID, not only
drops the hammer.
Yeah. Not only are you dealing with the tornado, because that was hell in itself.
Sure.
We were going through a serious. We're still going through that whirlwind, but in the beginning of this, with the tornado and then COVID hitting just with 2 weeks later, where everything was shut down.
Yeah.
I know I was in a bit of a whirlwind. I can't imagine what y'all were going through with that.
That was the funny thing where, we received all these offerings of support from so many organizations at first, right, within days of the tornado, and then everyone got quiet a couple of weeks later when everyone really kind of grasped the seriousness of the COVID situation, and all of a sudden it's well, I can't focus on anyone else. I got to focus on myself. Every business is struggling. I honestly... It's odd to be at a point where you're thanking a tornado, but the tornado kind of did us a favor in letting us skip most of COVID. I mean, every day I just wake up, go see my brother right here, and we get to work rebuilding something in the brewery, and that's all we had to do that day. I didn't have to worry about sanitizing anything. I was definitely in a very small bubble.
Right.
I was just thinking that, like, how did all this kind of been for you guys?
Yeah.
So, not really being open yet?
Yeah, exactly. Like we literally couldn't be open. You know, I mean, the insurance being able to help us pay for the reconstruction, we were able to really put everything into that. Our landlord was pretty considerate. Pretty considerate / realistic. I mean, we didn't have power for like a month and a half after the tornado. It takes a long time to restore commercial lines.
Yeah, that's the industry I work in. So yeah.
And like, I didn't know that. Pretty unreasonable for them to expect rent when, you know, like, hey, you can't even give me electricity. Like,
exactly, right.
At least y'all can do is cut something on the rent.
Yeah, and they had insurance too, of course. So, you know, it was kind of our way of really getting through the worst of it. I do feel like we're on the tail end. I think we've come up with some ways to responsibly open finally with really limited capacities in a way to where, like, if we just double down and, you know, sanitize everything, do everything possible on our end to keep the place safe, keep everybody spaced out. Are we operating at anywhere close to peak capacity? No, but we're still able to, you know, pay all our bills and keep open. Now that we have open.
I think the good thing about it is you would be able to kind of build your core base, your community, because those people that are going to come now are the people that's going to typically continue to come.
That's true.
And you know, so what are y'all doing to build that community? Without giving away your secrets? Because well, wait, before we answer that question,
sure.
Let's talk about
this next one.
Dunkelgeist.
Ooh, I'm a fan of this one.
I am too, and I'll explain why in a second.
I love this one as well. I'm a big Dunkel fan.
Yeah.
Mostly, like, Dunkels are on the sweeter side.
That's true.
Now, what I like about yours, it has like this roastiness to it.
Yeah.
And it's like a different, no pun intended, but it adds a je ne sais quoi. Like how I tied those two together.
Oh yeah.
And I like how you guys roasted it, and it still keeps like that same character of the Dunkel, which is still light and refreshing.
Yeah.
But has that smokiness to it.
So that I'm going to attribute it, and I don't want to give it away my secret on this one because I'm pretty sure it's been done before. This is sort of not a true Dunkelweizen because it's not using Weizen yeast. It's not using Hefeweizen yeast.
That would explain it. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the grain.
That's why I like it, guys.
the grain build is exactly the same. So it does contain almost 50% wheat malt. So in Weizen is just German for wheat. So it does have wheat in it, but the yeast of a Hefeweizen, which is the same yeast that you would use for a Dunkelweizen, Hefe meaning light, Dunkel meaning dark, it's the same yeast in it, and it does have a whole lot of really interesting fruity esters attributed to it, specifically banana and clove, which definitely, when used in a Dunkel, still kind of adds to the roast, the caramel. Then you also have banana and clove accompanying those. Personally, I would rather those be absent, so I used a different German yeast. I used Kolsch yeast, and that ferments a little cleaner.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have those additional yeasty fruit notes to them, and that's absent in this beer.
You really just broke down why I don't care for Dunkels typically. because of the banana and clove, and I didn't know they were so closely aligned to the Hefeweizen. Like I didn't. It's like I'm learning something on my own podcast. That's why we have people who on here that with knowledge. So I did not know that, but I'm not a big fan of the Hefeweizen. I love bananas, but I don't, but not like that banana flavor, or maybe it's the clove. And
oh boy,
and it could be because one time when I was growing up, I didn't grow up eating ham, pork, and all of this, right? So they had my uncle. He makes a ham and he has the cloves on it and everything. I went and I picked up the clove off the ham and ate it, and it ruined my life for like an hour or something. I was like, oh my God, I just can't get this. And I spit it out immediately. And I think I've had PTSD since then. I've had PTSD since then and have not been able to really enjoy Hefeweizen. I don't know if that's the case, but it's just... And so to learn that the Hefeweizen is, pretty much the cousin of the Dunkel, that, or maybe like, I got a light-skinned friend look like Michael Jackson, got a dark-skinned friend look like Michael Jackson, one of those type of things.
It's basically the same thing, but
there's an idea for a beer. A Hefeweizen and a Dunkel with the same same profile.
Okay.
And the light-skinned friend, dark-skinned friend, that look like Michael Jackson. But but yeah, that makes it makes sense to me. It kind of brought it all together. So I was asking though, like about your community. So what are you like? How are y'all looking to build, and especially in this crazy?
For sure. Small ways. I mean, leading up to our opening, we were trying to connect with as many, Nashville-based beer drinking groups as we could, including y'all's.
Yeah.
And we recently teamed up with, for example, I think, just to include them, Jack Lope and East Nashville Beer Works did as well. The Nashville Cat Rescue had and I think it's actually still going on. Look it up, people. This releases Thursday, I think. Friday's the last day.
Okay.
Nashville Cat Rescue is doing an online auction. We donated a little tasting thing to that so that you can go and bid on that. Support some cats. They are doing their best to help control the feral cat population and get kittens all adopted up and such.
You can do a commercial for them. They sound like really.
Yeah. I mean, I believe in it. I think it's a very necessary cause for like a lot of reasons. Won't go into it too now, but they also have some really cool stuff for sale. So, I don't know. We're just looking for opportunities like that. I'll be honest, COVID has stunted that quite a bit, and so is the tornado. Just a shout out East Nashville company that I admired, High Garden Tea. They do a lot of cool stuff with urban foraging, which I think is really cool. We want to urban foraging. So there is this awesome brewery in Maine. I don't know if they're still open or not, but they have enlisted the local community to learn about what sort of weeds are growing in their yards and what herbs those really are. A lot of these quote-unquote weeds are actually local botanicals that have unique flavor profiles that could be used in making teas or beer. And that's ultimately that's a side passion project that I will launch sooner rather than later. Maybe, I don't know. Depends on COVID.
Right.
Where trying to get people in on the process, learning more about their local community, and then being able to bring that to a business and seeing that being turned into a product that they can enjoy.
No, that is going to create a really cool community. I mean, in itself, because that is such a unique way to make beer, and and even just to learn about your community, that's gonna be cool.
It'll be really interesting. I'd love to collaborate with that brewery because Maine is so different from Tennessee from a local flora perspective. Yes. So everything that they're doing, we would be doing differently because our plants are different.
Right. And I wonder, I don't know if it's out of Maine. I watched a little documentary on YouTube about a brewery that pretty much they forage their own stuff. And I know it was in the Northeast, but it might have been New York. And I keep talking about this. They're going to have to start paying me soon. But Scratch Brewing, they're out of Illinois, about 3 hours away. And they forage their own, all of their ingredients on their own, their own brewery, their land. And the beer is good. Like, that's why I keep talking about it, because I'm like,
kind of like a taste of like what the area is like.
Exactly.
Rather than someone just creating like the Music City Lager. I'm like, does that do anything for our city, Nashville?
Yeah.
Rather than like Scratch Brewing, you're like, oh, this is from whatever city
right here.
Yes. Scratch.
It describes their city there.
Scratch, Illinois.
Yeah, Scratch, Illinois. That's not right, but we're going there. We're going with that for now.
and maybe this is born out of me hating mowing my yard and hating weeding my yard. My yard is mostly weeds at this point. And but I've read that, a lot of these, things invading my yard are just local plants. And,
you want that pretty yard.
Yeah, if you want that pretty yard, that pretty white picket fence and all that sort of stuff, then, you're going to have to play chemical warfare and get rid of all this stuff. But, I don't know. It's here for a reason. It grows really well. And you try it out, you use the seeds right, or you use the leaves right, and you might end up with some pretty interesting stuff.
I'm excited about that. You make sure you let us know when that takes off.
Oh yeah.
I went light, but I realized that was probably our finisher.
That was definitely our finisher.
That's okay. We'll go. I just took a sip. I was like, oh wait, okay, I know. Right.
Yeah, I think next up we're going for Celtic Grounds.
Celtic Grounds.
Yeah, it's a coffee stout.
Is it Irish?
It's an Irish stout, but with locally sourced coffee.
That coffee smells delicious.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of coffee, listen. I'm not a big coffee drinker. I enjoy coffee. I respect coffee, but I don't need it like every day, and I'd rather not introduce that to my life. But working from home, I realized that I miss that random cup that I have at the office, like once a week, or when the urge hits to just go over there to the Keurig and make something.
I got work.
So. Yeah, so I'm at home, like I'm struggling, like, okay, I'm going to have to figure something out. I'm having coffee withdrawal, and I don't even drink coffee. You know what I'm going to have to start doing? Just drinking the damn coffee beer. That's probably what I want.
That's right.
I got all your cravings. You get your beer craving handled and your coffee craving handled all at the same time. Usually in one sip.
There you go.
It tastes like I'm drinking a cold brew.
It does. But you drink a whole pint. And,
you start. This ain't a cold brew.
The coffee comes through real strong. We teamed up with Split Bean Coffee.
Okay.
They are out in Lebanon. Veteran owned, really cool dude. He came in, told me more about coffee than I knew, and I drink it every single day. Mm-hmm. But man, this guy knows coffee, and I told him a little bit about the beer that we wanted to turn into a coffee stout, and he chose his Reloaded coffee, which is a little bit on the darker roast. He calls it a medium dark, and I have had it before, just a regular cup of joe, and I could definitely taste it coming through here. It's going to be really awesome. We're trying our best because it is hard to make it all the way out there, being in Nashville. to go visit his shop. So we're trying to get some of his stuff here to sell. So have the beer, buy the beans. Make the Yeah, exactly.
It's like a little stand in the corner with just even some local stuff that you end up partnering with.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
To help lift other people up.
100%. You were just talking about community, and I think that's just another way that you can embrace your community. I learned a whole lot more about something that maybe I didn't know a whole lot about, and that I really enjoy, but I just didn't know a whole lot about by doing some work with them.
So you wanted to do a coffee, like how did that collaboration happen?
Yeah, so I met him at the Wilson County Fair like 3 years ago.
Okay.
He was doing coffee. I was trying to start a brewery. It's been a very long process, and we got to talking, and we made a bit of a acquaintanceship, I'd say, and talked about how great it would be for him to get his beans in a Nashville brewery's brew. And I found myself, making this stout that I just need a little extra oomph, It was a little bit thin, had really great bones, but I wasn't really quite happy with how it finished. I didn't think it finished strong enough. I thought, who I should call? I should call Chris over at Swig Coffee.
Yeah.
I called him up. He's like, absolutely, let's do it. He was here the next day.
He was ready.
I was waiting.
That's how like me. I'm like, you say beer? I get the.
What?
I'm here.
I don't care what it is.
Yeah. We brought 18 pounds of coffee we dumped into our beer. Man, it was a lot.
Yeah, but did the brewery smell of coffee?
Yes.
Like it was.
Yes, it did.
I wouldn't be mad at that.
Oh yeah.
Can't be.
I wouldn't be mad at that at all.
And
So,
would you have gotten to that collaboration without COVID and the tornado hitting, or was that always something you had envisioned?
It was always something that I had envisioned. Yeah.
it's more of would he have gotten to that collaboration had he not missed the mark on his intended?
Honestly,
when you're
that's a better question, and that escalated it. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I'm okay admitting that. I always wanted to work with him. I didn't think it would be so soon. I've been wanting to keep things a little tame before walking a little bit on the wild side of things. But
man, in the market nowadays though, like you can step out there and
that's true. That's true.
It's something wild. Someone's gonna be like, try that.
Yeah, and I think that's just my own preference. I love a good traditional brew, and so I don't know. There is so much more that you can do with beer by breaking Reinheitsgebot, but
yeah.
And this one is a
one
great
of them.
example of what you can do if you do.
I'm okay with breaking the rules.
Oh, it's okay.
Every so
I
often.
like to call them bending the rules.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But breaking it is cool too. So
Yeah.
you need to. But I noticed you talk about like traditional and just looking at your lineup. You got Kolsch's, you got ESBs, you got Irish Stouts. I noticed you kind of like that traditional. I'll quote it as old world beers,
Yeah,
versus new world.
that's true.
And you guys is just kind of putting your imprint on Nashville. Is that just because your preference, or you're like, a lot of these breweries don't do these older versions of beer? Why not I do it? And try to differentiate myself.
Finding your niche in the market.
It's definitely both. I definitely personally gravitate towards those styles. And the reason why I'm not trying to push myself outside of that is because I definitely think Nashville has room for that.
Okay.
I think we do have a lot of people pushing beer to totally new and novel areas, and I think that's great. And yeah, I spend a lot of money on this beer. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm not also a consumer.
I've been too much.
Yeah.
I have to talk to me every week, like a heart every time. It's like, you can't just fill our whole bottom shelf up.
I've been avoiding the budget conversation. Like, what? No, wait. Yeah,
we have no room. Like, I will make room. You get my ass. I'm getting these beers, and they're going here. Where? I don't know.
Hey, you
just haven't got that far yet. All right, I already bought the beer. We're here, so we got to do it.
Yeah. Just get a second fridge.
Right? I could kill you. That's against the law, so I'm just going to stare at you.
Oh boy.
So we have one last beer on our.
This will wreck our palate for sure. This is our Sour Saison. This is Don't Be a Sucker.
Yes, I don't know how I feel about being the last person finishing my beers tonight, because it's usually not a thing for me. I'm in the upper percentile of finishing my beers within 10 minutes.
We're talking about the finding your niche in the market or whatever. Is there something that you want to be known for? Because I feel like every brewery has at least like that one beer or something that they're known for. Which beer?
Styles and things like
which
that.
style would it be? But also, like, what beer do you want to be known? Your flagship.
I have always, and kind of in the name a little bit, Crazy Gnome. Something like half the menu being crazy, off the wall, is starting with this sour, and pushing the ground, pushing the line on things that could be like Gruit styles with the urban foraging project. Really unusual stuff. That said, like I think of a gnome, I think of like an old woodland creature, probably pretty traditional in beer tastes. The other split side of that, really just nailing those old style beers as well. So there's kind of a dichotomy there.
Okay. I like the combination. I like that. I like where you're going with it.
Sure.
So the Don't Be a Sucker is at 5.3%. Real easy to drink, as most sours are.
Sour Saison.
It is a Sour Saison. And you know what I said earlier.
Gives it a little kick, like gives it that peppery kick on the back.
It does.
It's a good balance, for sure.
It's not super sweet to me, and that's what I appreciate with really all of your beers. I'm not a sweet drinker. I've never been with like my liquor drinks. I'm like the most on the chaser I do is really like cranberry juice, but
I'm a ginger ale type of dude.
I prefer ginger ale, but if I'm gonna do like a fruit juice, it's typically
I don't like sour.
The dry
beer's too much, and this one it's sour, but it's not like overbearing where I gotta fuck up my lips and be like, I approach this very carefully.
Definitely. I mean, it is just a kettle sour. Kettle sours don't typically get to that, break your teeth level of sour, which I kind of enjoy. I don't mind a really strong sour.
You guys have that. I don't want to poke my lips each sip.
Yeah. But it should tighten your mouth a little bit on that first sip. You should be like, ooh, okay, that's something a little different. It is really refreshing. It is a little on the drier side. I think we've sort of opened ourselves up to a bit of a series, though, with Don't Be a Sucker. Like, don't be a cherry sucker, don't be a lemon sucker. That sort of thing.
I like it.
I like where you're going with that.
So we might have some, maybe some sweeter stuff coming down the pipeworks here with taking this one. And
listen, just because it's not for me doesn't mean that there's not a market for it. People have been killing those sours. And they love like the different fruited and just playful.
Yeah,
I think it brings some fun and some lightness to beer that I'm not totally against. It's not anything that I would necessarily drink, but I would. I'm here for it. There's not too much that that really rubs me the wrong way. Yeah, I don't think I'm one of those people. I mean, I prefer not to have some of the stuff. I'm not gonna drink it. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Now I'll come and I'll get a flight, a sour flight. If you had like let's say you had the series of you know, at one time, then I would do that. I don't think you're gonna release it like that, but I would try those just to get an idea. And really, I'm probably gonna try them, but because I just drink any goddamn beer. Save me from myself, Craig.
Like I'm stout. Like if I'm going to come in and I know I want like a pint of something, it's usually either going to be like a stout or like a lager or something in that realm. But if I want to try a flight, like I'm going to
push your boundaries.
Really like interesting with it.
It's
like,
5 ounces.
So I'm going to try my IPAs. I'm going to try my sours.
Yeah.
You got Ramley got an ESB on. I'm going to try
Give it a shot.
Like, those don't appear like ever anywhere really. At least in Nashville. I won't speak for anywhere outside the city I'm in, or even like I don't really see a lot of Kolsch's in the city like that. So it's just like, oh, you got Kolsch. Let me see where you guys are working.
I think people are just now starting to kind of make a Kolsch or like a Pilsner or something.
Yeah.
Just to give people more drinkability. Like,
like my girlfriend, like she'll classify herself as a baby beer drinker. So like she loves a good Kolsch, she likes a good Pilsner. But every now and then she'll throw like a weird curveball at me and drink one of my like heavy stouts I have on hand at home. She's like, I really like that. I'm getting a little tasting glass of that. I'm like,
damn, when did that happen?
Where is your taste? Like, you just didn't like this stout, which I thought was better than the one I'm drinking now, but you're in love with this stout. Like, we got to figure your whole palate out because she's still kind of everywhere, but
but you know what? That's okay though. You don't have to shoehorn yourself into any particular style. You know? Like
the beer groups will make you do that.
Yeah,
like it will kind of push you into I'm this type of
drinker.
Yeah. She's not in that, so she can go wherever the hell she want to go and drink whatever she wants.
I just had a Kolsch like 5 minutes ago. Now you're like on like this 14% stout I have and love it just as much as I do. Okay.
She'll really better once that 14% kick in. So,
right, I was like, I appreciate that.
I wanna ask this last question, and this is kind of for both of you all.
Okay.
Where did you think you would be at, I don't know your age, 30-somethings, 20, late 20s? I don't know how old you all are.
30 on the dot.
30 on the dot. Okay.
Mid-20s for me.
Mid-20s. Youngins. Ugh, I'm old. My birthday in a couple days. I'll be 35.
Happy birthday!
You know, thank you. I'm listening. I'll celebrate. I love my birthday. Like, where did you all think that you would be at 18? And now, fast forward some years later, like, are you on course, or have you really?
I'm pretty sure when I was a teenager, I was considering dropping out of school and being a lobster fisherman in Key West. So I've done a lot better for myself.
Yeah, like what were you watching on TV? What was the fishing show? Like,
exactly. Something like that.
Yeah.
On Discovery.
So I don't know what to tell you.
Listen, I'm glad you've come this far. Now, Bennett, we know Grayson moved here 5-6 years ago. Were you already here? Did y'all move together?
No, I was living in Knoxville up until about a year ago. I moved here.
Okay.
It was strictly for this.
Okay.
I was doing stuff for the brewery for a while, like just designing the flyboards, tap handles, things like that. And once I became like officially attached to it, I moved here and started helping him out. You know, we always, you know, he was determined to do it all alone. And we believed that he could, but maybe if I could be there to help him, that could hurt.
I could be here for my brother.
Listen, Bennett got that call from their mom and was like, "Go help your brother out. He is overwhelmed.
Too well, like
he is overwhelmed."
Doing this today. I'm like, yo, y'all okay? Yeah, I'm good.
You talk to Grayson, he's like, "Yeah, Mom, I'm fine." But mothers know, and they be like, "Go and help him." But I'm glad that y'all like worked it out.
Yeah, I mean, when I was up until recently, I never would have imagined that I would be working with him. We have a little bit of an age gap, and he always I was always just the annoying little brother, and he was always like the intimidating older brother. But we couldn't really connect until
See, I'm the little brother. I'm the youngest of three. I have two older sisters, so I know that whole like ideology of like I'm not just annoying them. That's fine, or it's not. Depending on the mood in the day and how we interacted in that moment. But so I know that feeling all too well.
It's very real. But but once got a little bit older, this separation, that separation between us wasn't as big of a thing, and we can start to work together a lot more and build something here. And it worked out pretty well, I think.
Yeah, but it's a start. But I mean, it's a good foundation. You got some good beer. The location is nice. The size is really nice.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love the garage door. You'll be able to throw that one open and kind of in and out.
I always love a space with a good garage door. I've come to turn the last few years. Every time I come in a place that has a door like that, it's a nice garage.
Right, it makes me want one on my house because you can have that indoor outdoor.
Right, at the same time, but
you don't want that in Tennessee.
You're right.
There's a reason we have a fly light right next to the door. I can tell you that.
Oh my God, that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother podcast talking about flies.
By himself, nothing else.
Just flies. Because me in the house.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall for
that
conversation.
So we want to thank you all for being on the podcast. It was a great conversation.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we learned definitely a lot about your beer. Any parting words? Anything? Where can they find you on social media for sure?
You can follow us. I think we're most active on Instagram at Crazy Gnome Brewery. Facebook, same way at Crazy Gnome /Crazy Gnome Brewery. Crazy Gnome Brew on Twitter, but I'm really bad at Twitter. I don't know what you can do about that. Otherwise, come have a pint with us. Enjoy your space. Enjoy your space while stay in space away
Talk
from
about the
people.
releases you guys have coming up.
Absolutely, yeah. So next this week we're releasing. We didn't. I know you guys have tried it before, but Crooked Smile. It's a Kolsch with a little bit of a little higher hoppy characteristic than you'd expect out of a regular Kolsch. And then also new this week, which we did try, is that coffee stout and that ESB Copperdoodle Celtic Grounds. And coming down the Pipeworks, we've got that Imperial Dark Saison. And we also have an amber ale and a me too.
How many beers are you gonna have? Typically have on your menu? That's a good menu.
Just 12 on tap.
Okay.
At any given time, maybe 11. We expect a couple of our beers to kick, so that's also a thing,
Yeah, but come try these beers before
they're gone.
Yeah,
that's right.
If you're thinking about it, just go on ahead and act on that thought.
Sometimes things in life are temporary, and you gotta just enjoy them in the moment. So
nice.
Come enjoy it. Come and enjoy it.
All right. Well,
of course, you can find me at the Bearded Brother on all social medias or Facebook. Find me at Cranky Beans if you want to link there. If you're in that demographic.
And you can find us at the Swig Podcast and myself at the Black Beer Experience. It's been great chatting with y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed the conversation. We'll see y'all on the flip side. Peace.
Glass to the Swig Podcast and keep toasting.
Ah.